Michael Jackson once snuck into a movie theater in a full ninja suit, hood up. Lights drop and he's already in his seat, dead still, like stillness alone could make the most famous face on the planet disappear. The only person who knew it was him? The guy sitting right next to him, trying not to laugh out loud in a dark theater. That guy was the oldest of 6 kids. In a house like that, nothing really belonged to you for long. If you wanted a cupcake, you didn't ask for permission. You quietly took it, hid it in a secret spot where nobody would ever think to look, and ate it before anyone even noticed it was gone. Growing up in a family like that, you learned to move fast. You learned how to disappear before anyone could catch you. That was the whole skill. And the funny thing is, decades later, it was that exact same skill that kept Chris Tucker standing beside Michael Jackson, Jackie Chan, and even a sitting US president, without ever quite getting caught. So here's the real question, the one worth sitting with. How does one guy get this close to this many legends, walk straight into their chaos every single time, and come out the other side with a story instead of a scar? Watch what he does with Michael Jackson first. It tells you everything. Movies were the easy part. The mall is where it nearly fell apart completely. One afternoon, Michael decided, no warning, no plan, and that he could pass for a regular guy for a few hours. He reached into the car for a disguise. The only thing back there was a Spider-Man mask. He put it on like that settled the entire matter. Chris told him straight up it wouldn't work. Michael wore it anyway, walked into a packed mall like nothing was wrong. They made it about halfway through before a stranger leaned toward Chris, eyes wide, and asked, "Dead serious? Is that Michael Jackson in that Spider-Man mask?" It was. And here's the first piece of the answer. Chris never tried to talk him out of it twice. He just stood there, let it happen, and moved with it. That's just how generous Michael was. There was no warning and no negotiation. One day, Chris mentioned that he liked the TV in Michael's living room. He wasn't asking for it. He wasn't even hinting that he wanted it. Then one day, he looked outside and found that very TV had been delivered to his house. It was simply something Michael always did. If you admired something around him, sooner or later it became yours. But nothing tested Chris quite like the night Michael pulled him on stage, live, in front of thousands of people, to run his signature choreography. No rehearsal. Nobody accounted for one detail. Chris is left-handed. Every move came out mirrored, backwards, a half second behind the beat. Michael lost it completely, every time, laughing too hard to finish his own routine in front of his own sold-out crowd, because the guy who could survive a Spider-Man mask in a mall full of strangers still couldn't fake his way through 8 counts of choreography. That's the pattern starting to show. Chris could handle chaos. What he couldn't always handle was silence, which is exactly what Jackie Chan brought into the room. Before they shot a single frame of Rush Hour, there was a meeting. Jackie sat through the whole thing without saying one word, just shaking his head slowly like he was watching something go wrong in real time. The second it ended, Chris pulled the director aside, half panicked. "Does he speak English, man? There's no way we can do this movie if he doesn't speak English." Nobody had a clean answer. That confusion became one of the most quoted exchanges of the decade, and almost none of it was written down before it happened. Someone just had a camera rolling at the right moment. By Hong Kong, the entire dynamic had flipped. Jackie wasn't just famous there, he basically owned the place. Every building Chris pointed at on the drive-in, same answer every time, his. And every day on set, a new gift showed up at Chris's trailer door, until Chris pieced together why. Jackie was from China. They made everything there. The gifts cost him nothing at all. Meanwhile, nobody on the street recognized Chris by his real name. Everyone thought he was someone else, Kobe Bryant. And without missing a beat, Chris would sign his autograph as Kobe. Then he'd keep walking as if nothing had happened, because at that point, the name that opened doors for him wasn't his own. That's the second piece. Chris never corrected anyone who had him wrong. Wrong name, wrong assumption, wrong mask. He let it ride and used the room it gave him. Even the legends who barely knew him skipped the small talk. Michael Jordan never said hello first. He just glanced down at Chris's shoes every single time and asked the same 4 words, What kind of shoes you got? Reebok? Are you crazy?" Like a ritual neither of them ever agreed to, but both kept showing up for. For Muhammad Ali, nothing more was needed. One sentence, one meeting. That was their entire relationship. He looked at Chris for a moment and said, "You're a funny guy, Tucker." Then he simply walked away. He didn't shake his hand. He didn't say anything else. He just delivered that one sentence and left. And somehow the silence that followed that brief conversation said more than words ever could. Here's where it flips. Up to now, the chaos has belonged to everyone around Chris. What happens next? He creates himself, and it nearly costs him the scene. Shooting money talks, there was one jail cell scene that should have taken an hour. Chris kept improvising lines so far off script that the entire cast couldn't hold a straight face, take after take, 56 takes. On the one that finally worked, the clean one, the director himself broke laughing behind the camera and ruined it. They had to start over from nothing. Offset was somehow worse. Charlie Sheen handed Chris the keys to his Ferrari when Chris was 24. No real conversation about when he'd get it back. Chris kept that car so long, Charlie genuinely forgot he'd ever lent it out. Months later, Charlie called, sounding confused by his own question, "Do you have my Ferrari?" Chris actually had to think before he answered. "I think I do. Same move again. Take what's offered, hold on to it a beat longer than you should, and let the other person be the one who has to ask for it back." Now pause here, because none of this, not the mask, not the show, not even a borrowed Ferrari gathering dust somewhere, none of it comes anywhere close to what happened with the President of the United States. Chris ended up overseas with Bill Clinton, doing impressions of him so accurate that Clinton started requesting them himself, stop after stop, country after country, in front of crowds Chris never expected to perform for. It built until they landed in Nigeria, where Clinton wanted it done live, not for a small room, in front of Nigeria's own president. Chris froze. One wrong word. Chris thought that in a country he barely understood, this wasn't something that would end with applause, but Bill Clinton didn't care about any of that. He looked at Chris and said, "I need you. Don't let me down." Chris had no choice but to say yes. Chris did it anyway. And that's the answer, finally, sitting right there in front of you. The mask, the choreography, the Ferrari, all of it was practice. He walked out of that room in Nigeria with a story instead of a sentence because he'd spent his whole life learning the exact same move. Step into the chaos, do the thing, and get out clean before anyone can stop him. Years later, long after the spotlight had shifted to other names, after Chris had been through some very public, very real tax trouble, Kevin Hart bought his first big house. He didn't know it yet, but Chris lived 2 doors down. Kevin was still hauling boxes in when a car slowed outside. It was Chris. He rolled the window down, looked at Kevin, and yelled exactly 4 words across the front yard. "Pay your taxes, man." Then he kept driving, didn't stop the car, didn't wait for a reaction. Just dropped it and disappeared down the street, leaving Kevin standing in his own driveway with a box still in his arms, working out what had just happened. The same kid who used to hide cupcakes before anyone even knew they were missing. Years later, on a much bigger stage, he did the exact same thing again. He showed up, said one thing, and disappeared before anyone had time to react. This time, the only difference was that instead of his brothers and sisters, it was Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, a sitting US president, and Kevin Hart standing confused in his own front yard. So here's the question worth sitting with on your way out. If you had 30 seconds with the most famous people on Earth, and you knew you could only get away with one move before they figured you out, what's the line you'd drop right before you vanished?